Okay, recording this video on Saturday the 26th of February 2011. Hope you had a good week's trading the E-mini. In this video I want to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about re-entering in a strong trend, in this case a strong uptrend. And if some of the old hands on Emini-Watch will know, this is my real kind of bête noire. This is something that I am very poor at doing. I particularly like going short, hate kind of long trades in comparison. But one of the things I'm really bad at doing is re-entering in a strong uptrend. I'm always trying to call the top on trend days, trend up days, and so re-entering in trend up days has always kind of been a weakness for me. And on Friday I almost got it perfect. Got the entry perfect, didn't get the exit perfect, and just want to talk about that. So let me just show you this, the 4,500 tip bar chart on the E-mini. So this is what I use for kind of trend direction on day trading. This is the open on Friday, this is the close on Thursday here, and you can see we bottomed out on Thursday with this kind of exhaustion selling pattern down here. It was about 1292.5 right down at the lows. Just to show you on the higher time frame charts, actually was an end of trend warning signal on the 40,500 tip bar charts. This was the end of this downtrend move from the highs up here at the 1340s down here, and on the 13,500 tip bar chart it was a second cyclical turn after end of trend. Here's the end of trend which happened on the open, pre-open. Really we had this kind of very violent sell-off on the aftermarket pre-open on Thursday. That gave us an end of trend here, and then we had a second cyclical turn after end of trend. The professionals come in here, all these bullish divergence patterns, and we've had this rally since, these kind of from the 1292 kind of area. So this was kind of the move that was continuing on Friday's trade. We had professional profit taking coming into the highs here initially. We had a flush signal and we started to sell off, but this is the re-entry that I took, and I'm just going to show you what it was looking like on the three different time frames, and where the best place to enter was, where the best place to exit was. So the trend move is not over until we see an end of trend warning signal, which is what we saw by the end of the day. So this move kind of continues all the way to our end of trend. So at this point here, it's about 10:40, 10:50 in the morning, we're coming into a cyclical turn on the 4,500 tip bar chart. And although we've had kind of professional activity at the highs here, flush signals and so on, suggesting some profit taking by the professionals, this move isn't over until we get everything kind of lining up. We need exhaustion in terms of price, as well as volume, as well as professional activity and so on. So we're coming into a cyclical support area here that's going to be a pullback in an uptrend, and I'm always looking for support areas where we've had previous breakout areas. So we broke out into an uptrend above this resistance level that becomes support. So we're coming back down into this area, and you can see we've got bullish divergence, we've got professional blue bars at the lows, we go a point or two kind of below, and we kind of hit this cyclical support area. So this is the perfect place to go long as a re-entry in an uptrend, and then the perfect place to get out is where we see cyclical resistance at this point, bearish divergence, and professional. So this is like a trifecta happening on this time frame in terms of an entry point and an exit point. So we've got bullish divergence, professionals, cyclical turning points. This is in terms of buying and selling volume, average trade size, and price all coming together around this area. Support point for an entry, and then the exit, we get the same kind of trifecta. We get bearish divergence, professional activity, and cyclical resistance at this point for a trifecta in terms of an exit from that long trade. So on the 4,500 tip bar chart, this is what we're playing, this move here. Top to bottom, this was about a 5-point move. It was in the direction of trend. It's kind of a high probability entry. Now drop down a time frame to the 1,500 tip bar chart, and you can see exactly what I was looking at here. We'd maxed out with this move at an end of trend warning signal here, and we were going through a little bit of a correction down here into the 1312 kind of area here. We knew the professionals were coming back in. We had fairly large selling volume on the downside, but we started to get caught here with profit taking and stopping volume patterns. The secret to entering on this trade was this bar here. This is an amateur bar reversing, kind of going down against back testing the lows. This is a testing amateur bar, and the break above the high of that bar, so the high of this bar is 13.75, so a break above the high of that bar signals that the amateurs have been wrong-footed at this point and we're kind of reversing into an uptrend. So that was the perfect entry here. If I go down to the 500 tip bar chart, this is exactly the same move. So we've kind of maxed out at 13.17, 13.18 here, and you can see we're going through a complex correction. Now, this really has kind of two legs down, and this is kind of classic Elliott wave type stuff. Trend moves have three up legs. We've got a first mover, a second mover, and then a third mover type Elliott wave pattern. Correction waves tend to be two waves down, and this is what an Elliott wave technician would be looking at this, one leg down, two legs down. So I look at this is a complex correction on the way down. You can see the professionals start to enter at this point here at 13.14, and then we come down and the professionals are active again. Cyclical turning point. We've had our exhaustion selling on this time frame here, and we've just made a flush signal on the 500 tip bar chart. So on these lows right down here, we've flushed out the sellers at that point. The professionals have stepped in again. We get a bullish divergence signal here, and then the market starts to rally. And you can see that little kind of amateur activity, which on the 1500 tip bar chart was amateur down bars. You can see these amateurs kind of trying to test back into 13.13 with this down bar here. A little bit of kind of getting caught up here. As soon as we break above the highs here at 13.14, we start to rally and go the other way. So 1500 tip bar chart, this bar was kind of key. An amateur bar testing the lows. When the high of that bar gets taken out, we have a high probability chance that we're going to re-enter this uptrend. And don't forget, it's marked by a cyclical support area on the 4500 tip bar chart with a pullback and an uptrend. Now I care less about the amateur up bars kind of going here. So I care about amateur bars when they're going to extremes, to extreme highs, extreme lows, kind of making new highs, making new lows. When they're moving back into congestion, I don't really have a good answer for why this is. I think it's because there's almost like a vacuum being created, and so you've kind of got low average trade sizes taking place at this point. But I tend to ignore these kind of going the other way. But this bar, when it's moving in this direction and then gets taken out in the reverse, that for me is a very strong signal. So that was my signal to go long at 13.14. Now, exit on this is we're coming up to another cyclical turn on the 4500 tip bar chart up here at the highs. And we've got professionals kind of coming in, bearish divergence and so on. So we know up at these 13.20 we should be getting out at this point here. I'm going to show you the 500 tip bar chart next. So we've kind of moved into this area here at 13.19, 13.20. Up here at the highs we got all these Rambo patterns, a whole series of them. Rambo showing a reversal, potential reversal of amateur breakout. So the amateurs are active at these highs, thinking this rally is going to continue going on. We get an end of trend warning signal. We've got exhaustion buying on this time frame, and we have all these bearish divergence signals up here. So whether you kind of got out on this peak or this peak, you know that there's kind of professional profit taking at the highs. We crack back a little bit higher up to almost hit 13.20, I think, up here, and you see the professional blue bars kind of coming in here, exhaustion selling and so on. So up here you know that there's weakness, there's profit taking, there's kind of reversing going on, and you need to be out of this trade. Where's the perfect exit? Well, the perfect exit on the 1500 tip bar chart is my pro signal exit, which is here. Coming into this first peak, we've got exhaustion buying and a professional blue bar at the highs. We know the professionals are active here, but this is the perfect exit for me. So I've talked about this on the exit signal video. So I call this a professional signal exit, where we have professionals active, showing high average trade size active on the highs here. We've got exhaustion buying at this point, and we know at that point that we're going to have a little bit of retracement back. Now the high wasn't in until we had our end of trend warning signal, and again professional blue bars into the highs here, bearish divergence at this point, and price making a cyclical turning point, which is an end of trend. So but for me the highest, the lowest risk entry, where I'm kind of maximizing my profit and don't have to sit through any of this kind of garbage retracement kind of going on here to finesse my exit, is this point here, when I'm getting a pro signal exit, exhaustion buying, professionals and so on. So the entry is down here at the break of this amateur bar on the upside, which is at 13.14 even, and this bar, when you're exiting at this bar or the bars after it, after we've got this signal on the exhaustion buying on better momentum, is about 13.19 even. So that move nice little trend move is a 5-point move. Very little kind of heat taken on this trade all the way up through there. So kind of a perfect example of a re-entry in an uptrend. And we're playing this cyclical support area, a pullback in an uptrend, and exiting at this end of trend here. My entry was good at 13.14 even. I got out way too early at 16.50, so I only took 2.5 points out of a 5-point move out of here. But you know, I'm getting better and better at these. This is, as I said, this is kind of my bête noire. I hate these kind of trending up days and re-entry and uptrends, but I've got to get better at them. And this is kind of a good learning lesson for me during Friday's activity. When you take trades like this, you get kind of confidence that it's the right move to make. It feels, for me, kind of just my DNA, it kind of feels wrong. But often the best trades work out when you feel they're kind of wrong. The best trades are the good ones that are kind of going against your natural instinct. So I need to get better at doing that. Certainly was comfortable with the entry here after the fact, but I should have held rather than getting scared out of these kind of previous highs up here at 13.16.5 and held for the full move up to 13.19. So there we go, just a little bit of a discussion of re-entry in uptrends. I think the next couple of days, just looking at my longer term charts on the 40,500 tip bar chart, we've had our end of trend. I think we're now going to go through a little bit of oscillation, some kind of congestion on the Monday and Tuesday, because we've kind of this is a significant support area on the 40,500 tip bar chart. But let me just pull up a sine wave chart. Okay, so this is just a sine wave chart, daily E-mini chart here at es.d. And you can see that we've kind of peaked up here and kind of pulled back into the 1290 type region. But we've got a few days to go before the sine wave on a daily time frame kind of signals a bottom here, which will be a pullback in an uptrend signal. So although we've kind of found the first kind of level of support here, I think we're going to go through a couple of days of kind of congestion, and there's still a couple of days before we make that final low, which will be a pullback in an uptrend signal. So I don't necessarily think that we've found the absolute low on this move. So still be looking for that during this week. So hope you had a good week's trading, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of days trading. So enjoy your weekend. Just forgot to mention, I'll tag on the real-time videos showing that re-entry in an uptrend trade as I was taking it during the day. Okay, just gone long at 13.14 even. Checking my stops and targets. We're down at a cyclical turning point on the 4500 tip bar chart. We've got a pullback in an uptrend about to signal here. Kind of pushed to new lows at 13 here. Professionals kind of coming on the 500 tip bar chart. Flush selling signal. We've just had a bullish divergence. But this is what's interesting to me, is it's like the professionals were coming in on the 1500 tip bar chart at this level. But then when we pushed down to try and test go low here, this is a down amateur bar at this point here. And when the highs of that kind of got taken out, that's a kind of a short-term kind of testing bar down. So when that's, we're in a strong uptrend, we're in a pullback, in an uptrend kind of cyclical support, likely cyclical support type area, a little signal like that could easily be, a nice kind of entry point, low-risk entry point. So just gone long at 13.14 even. Okay, I just came out at 16.50. For 2.5, and the reason for getting out is just this little break up to almost 17 was pretty fast up here. Blue professional bars kind of coming on the 500 tip bar chart. We've got a cyclical turn kind of coming up on the 15, but not seeing it kind of confirmed yet. No blue professional bars by the professionals kind of up here. So I'm probably exiting a little bit early, but we've run a little bit too far too fast here. So just good to get out with some profits. That was a nice little entry here on this amateur down bar, and we're coming back down to 13.16, so that's good. Out at 16.50. A little while later, and this just shows where I should have exited this trade. I've just had an exhaustion buying signal on the 1500 tip bar chart with blue professional bars up here showing the professionals are kind of taking profits at 13.19, and that's a pro signal exit in this kind of trending move. My entry was good. Here we had an amateur down bar, and the break of the high of that for an entry at 13.14 was good, but I got out around 16.5, which was, this move had a long way to go before the right exit. And where it's coinciding with a cyclical turn on the 4500 chip bar chart here, you can see that's kind of lining up with blue professional bars at the highs. You know, when we burst through 18, which was the previous high here, a whole bunch of stops were run up here. We had kind of exhaustion buying into that.